The morning sun filtered through the dusty windows of the modest home on Delaware Street, casting a warm light on the worn carpet. Archie Bunker sat in his favorite armchair, a throne of faded fabric that had seen better days, grumbling about the state of the modern world. He believed that the past was a golden era of stability and order, a time when one knew exactly where they stood. Alongside his devoted wife, Edith, who was busy in the kitchen preparing breakfast, Archie often sang about the good old days. They sang of Glenn Miller and the songs that made the hit parade, reminiscing about a time when guys like them had it made. In those days, girls were girls and men were men, and Archie frequently lamented that the country could greatly use a man like Herbert Hoover once again. There was no welfare state in those memories, as everybody pulled their own weight, making the old days seem sweet and great. Edith, with her high-pitched voice, harmonized as best as she could, though Archie often told her to quiet down so he could enjoy his own thoughts. Archie was a man of firm convictions and limited patience, especially when it came to the changing social landscape. On this particular morning, his grievances were directed at the TV and the current administration. He was reading the newspaper and shaking his head in disbelief, muttering about how the nation finally had someone in the White House he could agree with, only for others to think she was wrong. He was referring to the First Lady, Betty Ford, whom he mistakenly called Betsy. Archie grumbled that President Gerald Ford had told the nation to bite the bullet, but his wife had gone on TV to share opinions that Archie found highly scandalous. Edith, emerging from the kitchen with a plate, gently corrected him, noting that her name was Betty and she had merely stated she would not be surprised if her daughter had an affair. To Archie, this was an unforgivable breach of decorum. He argued that the First Lady was not supposed to make such statements in public, asserting that making public mistakes was the job of the president. He even speculated that the Central Intelligence Agency was secretly administering mind-altering substances to the politicians in Washington, suggesting that someone might have injected a strange substance into the cottage of the First Lady to turn her into a free spirit. Archie believed that anyone who supported intimacy before marriage was behaving foolishly, and he firmly declared that no daughter of his would ever be caught behaving in such a manner. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their daughter, Gloria. She walked into the living room with a glowing face, fresh from a visit to the doctor. Gloria looked at her parents and asked if they could see the incredible news written on her face. But Archie was immediately suspicious, warning her to stay away in case she had contracted something contagious, as he had to go to work in a short while. Gloria laughed and assured him it was not a disease, but rather an incredible surprise. She gave them a hint, suggesting she had found something wonderful, and Edith immediately gasped, wondering if her daughter was expecting.
Gloria confirmed the wonderful news, explaining that the doctor had performed a rapid test and she was indeed going to have a baby. Edith was overcome with emotion, dissolving into happy tears and declaring that she was going to be a grandmother.
She hugged Gloria tightly, while Archie tried to maintain order, telling Edith to stop carrying on and reminding her that Gloria was married, so there was no need for hysteria. Archie, despite his gruff exterior, was quietly pleased and offered himself a cigar, though he told Edith to control herself and dry her face. As the excitement settled, Gloria explained that she was 2 months pregnant. Edith wondered why her son-in-law, Michael, had not mentioned the news, and Gloria revealed that Michael did not know yet. Michael was upstairs packing, as the young couple was preparing to move into their own home next door the very next day. Gloria was anxious about telling him, explaining that they had planned to have a child for some time. But Michael constantly worried about the problems of the world, such as the environment, pollution, and the danger of an overcrowded planet. Archie scoffed at the worries of Michael, making a sarcastic remark about the habit of Michael worrying about explosions while still finding time to start a family. Gloria requested that Archie take Edith out to dinner so she could have the house to herself when she broke the news to Michael. Archie was reluctant to leave his own home for something his son-in-law had done, but Edith insisted, calling Archie a grandfather and ushering him toward the door. Archie relented, grumbling that they would go out, and warned Edith not to trip over her shoes and wake the baby, even though the child was still months away from being born. After her parents departed, Gloria waited in the kitchen for Michael to come downstairs. Michael arrived, sensing that something unusual was happening because Archie had actually smiled at him and patted him on the cheek on his way out the door. Gloria smiled and told him she had some news, asking if he remembered a romantic weekend they had spent in Long Beach at the bungalow of some friends. Michael smiled warmly, remembering the beach, the sun, and the string bikini Gloria had worn. Gloria then reminded him that she had forgotten her pills during that trip and he had decided not to walk to a drugstore late at night. Michael stopped smiling, his eyes widening as he asked if she was trying to tell him she was pregnant. Gloria asked if that would be good news or bad news, and Michael insisted it would be great news. When Gloria confirmed she was pregnant, Michael embraced her, shouting with joy. However, the initial wave of happiness soon receded as the mind of Michael began to drift toward his favorite worries. He recalled that they had promised not to try again after her previous miscarriage, at least until conditions in the world improved. Gloria pointed out that things had indeed improved since Michael was working, and they were moving into their own home next door. Despite the optimism of Gloria, the anxiety of Michael began to take control of his thoughts. He started to ramble about the millions of children in the world who did not have a fair chance to live, and how they had once discussed adopting a child instead of bringing another soul into an overcrowded world. He spoke of the poisoning of the air, the filth in the water, and the lack of food to go around. Gloria watched him with growing sadness, asking if he was upset. Michael denied being upset, claiming it was just a natural reaction to being reminded of unhappy things, but his voice betrayed his panic. He admitted he was slightly unhappy that she had forgotten her pills, which immediately offended Gloria. She asked if he was insinuating that she had forgotten them on purpose, and Michael protested, though he pointed out that she had been parading around the living room in her bikini while he had played romantic music and danced her into the bedroom. They began to argue about who was truly responsible for the situation, with Michael claiming that she had subconsciously trapped and seduced him. Gloria retorted that if she had seduced him, he was still the one who had refused to find a drugstore. Michael, unable to handle the sudden pressure of fatherhood, declared he was going out into the night to think, leaving Gloria alone and weeping in the kitchen. Michael wandered through the dark streets, his mind spinning with fear and guilt. He eventually found his way to a quiet spot where he ran into their neighbor, Irene Lorenzo. He confessed to Irene that he was furious about the forgotten pills and had felt like finding a bar to get loaded, though he admitted he could not drink without feeling ill. Irene listened to his complaints with a patient but firm expression. She told him that he was not an innocent bystander in the situation, and accused his worries about the world falling apart of being nothing more than a convenient excuse. Irene suggested that Michael was simply a coward who was terrified of the responsibility of raising a child. Michael was offended, calling her words a low blow, but Irene persisted, asking why he had not taken permanent measures to prevent a pregnancy if he was so deeply committed to saving the world from overpopulation. She handed him an article from the Christian Science Monitor written by Alistair Cook, urging him to read it before he blamed an innocent baby for the problems of the planet. Back at the house, Gloria was sitting in the living room with her mother, feeling utterly abandoned. She wept, fearing that Michael would leave her or demand a divorce. Edith tried to comfort her, assuring her that Michael loved her and would return, but Gloria was inconsolable. She even expressed doubts about bringing the baby into the world if it meant losing her husband. Edith was deeply saddened by this, explaining that she was already in love with the unborn child and could not bear the thought of losing it. Archie returned from his walk and saw his daughter in tears. He sent Edith to the kitchen to make some coffee so he could speak with Gloria alone. In a rare and touching display of fatherly affection, Archie sat beside Gloria, pulling her close to him. He reminded her of when she was a little girl, recalling how he had to drag her to school during her first week because she was too frightened to go alone. Gloria smiled through her tears, remembering how she had discovered him following her half a block behind, ducking behind bushes and knocking over garbage cans to make sure she arrived safely. Archie then told her about the day she was born, describing how he had looked through the hospital glass and picked her out immediately, knowing she was his special girl. This warm memory brought a genuine smile back to the face of Gloria, proving that despite their differences, their bond was unbreakable. Just as they were sharing this quiet moment, Michael walked through the front door, looking tired but calm. Archie made a sarcastic comment about the return of Michael, but Gloria told her father to be quiet. Michael approached Gloria and apologized, admitting he had been wrong and was truly happy about the prospect of having a baby. He pulled out the article Irene had given him and read a passage written by Alistair Cook. The passage explained that even in the best of times, human days are numbered, and it would be a crime against nature for any generation to take world crises so seriously that they put off enjoying the things they were designed to do, such as falling in love, enjoying friends, and bouncing a baby. The beautiful words touched everyone in the room, and even Archie had to admit it was a nice sentiment, though he could not resist asking what the author had to do with anything. With their fears put to rest, Michael and Gloria embraced, ready to face the future together. The following morning, the great move began in earnest. Archie and Michael were tasked with carrying a heavy mattress from the bunker house to the new home of the young couple next door, which was the house recently vacated by the Jefferson family. The task was fraught with difficulty as the two men bickered constantly, with Archie complaining about the weight and Michael accusing him of not lifting his fair share. Archie grumbled that 10 years prior, he had carried similar furniture alone without a single complaint. Gloria and Edith watched them, with Gloria warning her father not to refer to her pregnancy as a condition, as it made her feel as though she had a skin disease. Archie insisted that pregnant was an improper word to use in polite company, suggesting that expecting or being in a family way possessed far more class. Michael scoffed at the old-fashioned views of Archie, and the argument continued as they struggled to maneuver the mattress through the doorway, nearly knocking over several items in the process.